Chapter 170, Red Onion. After another couple months in the hole in Sussex too, we were being moved again. Because of how the officers treated us, they wouldn't take the chance of placing us into population. It was a great possibility of retaliation, a wise calculation on their part, because they still didn't know if we had another demonstration. And all men are unpredictable when they face desperation, though we remained calm. This time we were being moved to Red Onion Supermax State Prison, the highest security prison in Virginia, a level 6. It was built in the mid-90s as part of a massive prison building effort in Virginia. They constructed 2 facilities to house the state's most dangerous criminals who required extraordinary security measures. The first of the 2 identical Supermax security prisons were Red Onion and its twin, Wallens Ridge State Prison in Big Stone Gap, Virginia. Both facilities are level 6 and the most secure in Virginia's prison system. On my 28th birthday, I was back on the prison van, shackled and cuffed with the black box for another 8-hour drive into Pound, Virginia, and onto the Red Onion Mountain, minutes from the Kentucky and Tennessee borders. How the fuck I end up in a Supermax with a parole violation? Everyone else here had life. This was my 5th straight birthday in the hole in 5 different prisons, and my 6th straight lockdown in 5 different places: Ohio, Lawton Supermax Block, DC Jail Supermax Block South 1, Sussex 1, Sussex 2, and now Red Onion. All Supermaxes. The van drove for countless miles through the mountains, going higher and higher until my ears popped. It seemed as if we drove for hours on a circular road around a large mountain. Then, once we got to the summit, we descended into it. It seemed like the prison was built inside of a dormant volcano. It was a fly flying around in the van with us. After a while, the insect landed on the window and just looked outside for the rest of the ride like we were doing, trying to figure out where we were being taken to. He didn't even bother us, and of course we couldn't bother him with our chains and cuffs on. He was locked up too and was being moved hundreds of miles away from home, just like us. He seemed to be depressed. I wonder, would he ever see his family again? In Red Onion, it was the same narrative. Lower class white cops with cowboy hats, Rottweilers, and weapons. This place was in a far, isolated rural community and was technically the only job in town with a minimum wage pay scale. Most of the 800 employees there were laid off from coal mining jobs. It sat on 375 acres of land that was donated by the Pitson Coal Company and was built at a cost of over $70 million. It was a gerrymandering haven. All of the officers were related and most had the same last name. That was a bad sign. We went through the normal procedures and then taken into the prison. We were immediately taken to the hole because of the classification assigned to each of us. Worst of the worst of the worst of the worst. After 3 months, I was taken to population. As I was being escorted across the compound, I was extremely observant. All the cell blocks formed a outer perimeter with the recreational yard and the chow hall in the center. Every cell block facing the yard had tinted windows on the 2nd floor that the officers could slide and push their shotguns or assault rifles through to open fire. Boom. The windows were tinted so they could watch us, but we couldn't watch them. It was 5 of these on the 50-yard ball field. They could open fire from every direction, and with them all being related, a cover-up would be simple after a killing. It held 800 prisoners with a 99% white male staff. It was only 2 female officers on the compound, and they both seemed to be interested in black men, which was a recipe for disaster. The administration kept them in the gun towers and as far away from us as possible, yet they still found ways to flirt. As we walked into the cell blocks, we entered into a salad port with an armed officer standing on a glass window 15 feet above us. The glass had strategically placed holes in it for the shotgun barrels to be placed through so they would be able to shoot downwards onto us. As we passed through the salad port, we entered into the cell block with the same armed officer that was above, now behind us. I immediately saw a blind spot where you could be killed by another prisoner without the shotgun blast being effective enough to stop the killing. I knew to avoid that spot or to use it for my own benefit if need be. The lights in the cells also stayed on 24/7, but we couldn't cover it up with Bible paper. You would be immediately taken back to the hole and placed on 4-point restraint. The cells also had a red line in front of them, and we were instructed to not cross that line or we would be shot. When the cell doors are open to let us out, we had to stand in front of the cell, inside of the red line, until the cell door is locked. Then we can walk off onto the tier. Any move across that line before the cell door is locked, gunshots goes off as a warning shot and everybody has to hit the floor face first. Anyone still on their feet would be shot. This was to stop prisoners from attacking other prisoners in their cells. The goon squad would then come in and the offender would be taken to the hole. This was new to us, so gunshots were going off regularly. Chapter 172, Shotgun Blast. A shotgun blast inside of a large steel and concrete room is excruciatingly loud, with the sound echoing and ricocheting off of the walls. It started messing with my nerves. At all hours, gunshots would be going off, even in the early morning. Most of the times I would refuse to walk to the chow hall for breakfast because I probably stayed up all night while it was quiet, reading, writing screenplays, and meditating. But if someone even forgot about the red line or a fight broke out while you was resting in the cell, that extremely loud gunshot yanks you out of your sleep with the sound seeming to be 2 feet away, and it throws you into a stupor. It made you dizzy and confused. Your ears are ringing and your brain is hurting while simultaneously trying to calculate what just happened. The lights are bright and the yelling is loud. The noises are confusing and seem to be coming from far away, yet right next to you. Not having a weapon to return fire was depressing in itself. But by the time you understood what was happening, your nerves were frayed. All you saw were rednecks smiling with tobacco-stained teeth. Pale-skinned Ninja Turtles hovering over dark spots on the shiny white floors. Dark spots that breathe, yet its life were considered to be worthless to the worthless. This gulag wasn't exclusively for DC prisoners. It mostly consisted of Virginians, and at one time Vermont and Connecticut signed deals to lease their slaves there for a short period until 2 slaves were found dead. It was ruled suicide by the cartel prison family. We had to walk in a single file line to the chow hall that also had a gun tower inside of it with an officer holding a shotgun above us while we ate. We only had 10 minutes to eat, then everybody had to get up and leave. We weren't even allowed to pass anything to each other, like food or condiments. That alone would warrant gunshots. We would then walk in a single file line back to the cell blocks, all dressed identical in the same uniform and the same shoes, like we were part of a computer simulation. 95% of the population were serving life or multiple life sentences. I was still serving a 5-year parole set-off. The thought of living in this matrix for eternity was pushing men into suicidal acts. And suicidal men were extremely dangerous and hard to handle. Chapter 173, Rubber Bullets. Anytime shots were fired, we were supposed to immediately hit the ground. One day while walking through the salad port, a slave attacked another slave in the blind spot, and gunshots immediately rang out from 15 feet directly above us. Everyone dived onto the floor. As the slaves continued to attack each other on the floor, wrestling, the gunshots were ripping through their jackets and blood began to spew everywhere. The officers had two kinds of rubber bullets. One was about the size of a large marble that was hard enough to break bones and give concussions. The other one were like BBs, and they flew out in all directions. The overseers always aimed for the head, hoping to cause damage to the eyes. I knew of two men who lost an eye from the gunshots. The slaves stopped fighting, but the shots kept coming. They were ricocheting off the shiny wax floors and flying past my face like shrapnel from a broken broomstick. I looked up from the ground and saw the steel door leading into the cell block rapidly closing. Fuck this. I jumped up and ran towards the door with shots going off above me, missing me by inches. As I'm running towards the closing door, I could hear the overseer above me running towards the same direction, yelling, "Get on the ground right here!" As the door was closing, I was able to squeeze through it and arch my back against the wall. Because he was 15 feet above me and the window he needed to shoot from had horizontal bars a foot apart in width, he couldn't angle the shotgun to shoot me from above. As I looked up, I could see him trying to aim the shotgun to the top of my head, but he couldn't, so he squeezed off around. The BBs flew ahead of me, ricocheting off the floors and bouncing off of the stairs and cell doors with the loud pinging sound of fast-traveling small rocks hitting metal. I saw that a couple of the cell doors were open, and then I saw the shotgun disappear from above. I heard the overseer footsteps run in the opposite direction, and I heard two more gunshot blasts. Boom! Boom! He was still shooting the slaves 15 feet beneath him, who were all laying still. These gunshots gave me the cue I needed. I took off running towards the open cells in full speed. Soon as I did this, I immediately heard his loud boots running back towards me from behind as he stomped on the overhead floors. Before I got to the open cell, I heard the cocking back of the shotgun as he chambered another round and aimed. I got to the cell soon as the shot went off. Soon as I slid inside the cell, BBs ricocheted off the walls, missing me again by inches. The cell door closed, locking me into a fabricated sense of safety. I took a deep breath. Fuck. And that was all over one slave bumping into another slave without saying excuse me. I heard more gunshots at Red Onion than I did in society. The family of rednecks were having a field day. They look forward to practicing every day on the black shooting targets. A few overseers were assaulted and stabbed while I was there also, but it was mostly slaves attacking other slaves for frivolous reasons. Lifers attacking lifers, serving life sentences in gulags, while the real oppressors become spectators to the carnage. Very rarely a lifer tried to escape the mountain. Being the toughest slave in the gulag was more important. This compound had no porn magazines, no weed, no dope, no educational courses, no ways to hustle, which led to no hope. Getting placed on prison transports, we called them loads, but no one wanted to go to Red Onion. Red Onion was the end of the road.